Reincarnation. How can we know that this is real? Well, nature provides the answer. So that's what I'm going to be discussing in this next video. So stay tuned for that. Hey everyone, I'm Brian Easterday and welcome back to Eye of the Storm Astrology. So in today's video, I'm going to be talking about the subject of reincarnation and how by observing nature, we can actually see this play out everywhere we look. But before I get into that, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and do yourself a favor as well and hit that notification bell. That way you don't miss out on any of these videos that could be helping you turn your challenges into strengths. So how can we, well, first off, let's talk about reincarnation. What is it? I think most people are familiar with the concept is that, us being an immortal soul, an Atma, as we refer to it in the Vedic tradition, that we go through different lifetimes, that we have a lifetime in this form, that we experience certain karmas, we have certain lessons and experiences, and then we die, and then we are eventually reincarnated into another incarnation in order to have different experiences and to continue our journey of learning. So it's all about serving the purpose for the development of the soul. And why is that so important to that process? Well, by coming into a physical body, we limit ourselves. We get into a very limited experience of an individual. Because we're experiencing things from the perspective of an individual, we can have a unique and a new experience. So every time we come back from a different perspective, we reincarnate, it's an opportunity for a new and a unique perspective for us to experience, which then allows us to have more awareness. The more perspectives we can see something from, the more awareness we're going to have. So what are some, I was thinking about this the other day and thinking of some examples, like in nature, of how nature just shows us that this is everywhere. One that I spoke about in a previous video I did called How Can We Be Both Mortal and Immortal? Go back and check that out if you haven't seen it. I used the example where I was learning a lesson from thinking about the sunrise and sunset. That when we see the sun as a representation of the soul or of us as an individual, we can see that there's a sunrise, a birth, and a sunset, a death. But the reason why we're seeing that is because we're on our perspective here on Earth and it's spinning, right? So it's from our limited perspective. Whereas if we were to step back out in space, we could look and see, well, the sun's always there. It's there every day. So we can see that we're both like mortal and immortal. So this is that kind of lesson. And there is that reincarnation that every day the sun rises again. But then we think about, well, we say that, the sun never dies. Well, in our lifetime, again, from our perspective, but if we look over the period of billions of years, at some point, our sun, that star, will explode. And then when stars explode, new things are born from that stardust, from that raw material. So even in a great, so we can see it on a short cycle of the daily cycle of a sunrise and sunset. We could see it on a large scale, on a macrocosm, that the sun will have a life and then it will die, it will expire, and then it will be reborn into something new. So the sun's a great example for this, especially because we associate it with the soul in Vedic astrology. Another great example are trees. In the Vedic perspective, we say that, the whole universe is on a sacred banyan tree, right? And I did a video on that, the sacred banyan tree. So if you haven't seen that, go back and check that out as well. So what can we learn from trees? Well, we can see that a tree, like, it lives, it drops its seeds, new trees grow. We can also see that every year they'll lose their leaves, they'll lose their fruit, and they'll die back in winter, and then they come back to life in the spring. We can see it with the seasons, that we have a spring and then we have a summer. So spring dies, summer is born, summer dies, fall is born, so on and so forth. But eventually, guess what? Spring is reborn again. We can see this with water. Water will flow, and then it evaporates, then it reforms, then it falls again. We can see this with mountains. Mountains get pushed up over long periods of time. Then over even longer periods of time, they're slowly eroded away, slowly destroyed. And then that erosion becomes soil. Eventually that soil gets compacted into more rock. Eventually that rock can get pushed and then shifted and put back up into another mountain. So mountains are even like destroyed and reborn over and over again over periods of time. So when we understand the foundational qualities of nature, we can always look around and observe their manifestations. So in other words, like the qualities of the parent can be seen in the child, that all things are born from each other. So just like when you have a child, right? And then say maybe you pass away, or even a grandchild, or whatever it may be, some family lineage down the line. That person may come back as an individual, but they might embody some of your qualities. So when you start looking at nature's the qualities of things instead of just only individuals, you can see the same quality may go away and cease for a time being, and then it may come back. And this is the thing, same with like when, in the winter, everything dies back, but in the spring, all the flowers come into being, and then the flowers die back. So they live, they're in a state of manifestation, then they leave a state of manifestation, but that doesn't mean they don't exist. They're just unmanifest at that time. And then when the conditions are correct again, they remanifest. It's the exact same with us. When the condition arises for us to come into this incarnation to learn the specific lessons and things that we're wanting to do, when the conditions are right for that, whenever our birth chart is lined up correctly, those are the conditions, that's when we come into manifestation. Whenever it's time for us to leave this experience, we leave manifestation. When the time is right again, we come back into manifestation. Just like the flowers in the springtime, or the trees, or the trees with their leaves and fruit, so on and so forth. Everything has its time and place. So when we look at this, we can see that the essence of existence is change. That is what makes everything exist, is that there's a constant state of change, growth, destruction. It's always happening. And that cycle, those shifting cycles, those changes are what drive things forward. Let's look at a forest again. What happens when a tree dies? Well, eventually it falls down. Mycelium, other mushrooms and fungi can colonize it. Bugs can eat out of it. So it continues to give nourishment even as it's being destroyed. And then when it breaks down, what does it become? It becomes amazing soil, which continues to nourish life. So it changes. That life force energy goes from one form, the tree, then it goes into mushrooms, then it goes into soil, then it can go back into plants. It's all in a state of change. There's no destruction of anything ever. There's just change. There's just new manifestations coming into being. And there are endless examples in nature that you can observe this. I just wanted to list some quick ones and kind of keep this video a little bit short, but I definitely challenge you guys. Think about this. Look around in nature and see how you can observe that reincarnation, that change really is the essence of existence. So that's going to wrap this video up, guys. I hope you found it valuable. If you did, please hit the like button. And if you feel so called to do so, please share it around. Also, subscribe and hit that notification bell, because I don't want you to miss out on any future videos that could be helping you turn your challenges into strengths. If you need to contact me about booking consultations, courses, or whatever it may be, you can click the link below in the description. That goes to my link tree, and that's a one-stop shop for my website where you can purchase any of my services, and for all of my social media so you can follow along with all of my work. Thank you for tuning in, guys. And remember, by creating more awareness, we create more opportunity to be the best version of ourselves. I appreciate your guys' support, and I'll see you in the next video.